What's up, world? So, today I thought I would do something to kind of let you in on my brain and show you how I mix a song start to finish. So, we got a song up here I produced. I have not mixed it yet, I have made every element. I'm doing this production for a friend of mine. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to listen through the whole thing, and then we're going to make some decisions on where to start. Usually start in the drum areas, but we have two separate drums. So this person asked for a Linkin Park-esque pop song. So what I did was I created the first half of the song as kind of that pop beat, but a little bit darker. And then for the last half of the song, we went with a drum kit sound. The drum kit sound is from the Steven Slate MIDI drums, so that I already mixed in the program. So you'll just see a stereo stem for the drum, but I haven't done anything that I like to do, like add any kind of reverbs to them or a saturation to make them kind of sound more real. So I'll show you a trick on how I make MIDI drums sound a little bit more real. I do play drums as well, but sometimes it's easier for the particular song to go ahead and program them in instead of doing them live. So it's just the stylistic choice. If I have a lot of guitars or regular instruments that I have going on and I want it to sound more like, live rock feel, I will put real drums on them. But for this production, I just went ahead and used the Steven Slate drums. So we'll go ahead and listen to the whole thing through, and then we'll go ahead and mix it. So here it is. Let's make sure that we're at the beginning. We are. So let's take a listen, and you can critically listen with me and see what things are out of place, what needs to be panned in and out of the way, what's too loud, what has bad frequencies, and then we'll go over it together. So here it is, start to finish. Very cool. So there was some stuff that popped out at me immediately. I think I even made a face at one section. So the things that kind of stood out to me are the kick drum is a little bit too big. It's a little too fuzzy, and the low frequencies on it are kind of not blended well. The other one was the sub bass. So the sub bass in that one section was really loud and kind of like um, more of a feeling than a sound, which is cool, but we'll manipulate that to get rid of some of that mud. A lot of panning needs to happen. The woodblock hats, this track here, 4, it kind of has a similar sound to leaving my click, my metronome on. So I really like that sound, but I want it to not sound like I accidentally recorded the metronome into the song. So we're going to break that up. There's also certain sections of the song that need to be separated so that I can control the panning and volume in them. So we'll go ahead and start with this kick drum. Another thing that's happening is when the chorus changes here back into the verse, it slams, it doesn't blend. So we'll work on making sure that that is in there. And I have some markers in here for these markers are just verse, um, chorus, bridge, and outro so that I could know where those different sections are. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these drums and I'm going to make them the same color. It's really interesting. I was in a live mix with Lindsay Kappa the other day for Women X and Audio, and she said that she always makes her drums blue. And I thought that was really funny because I always make my drums blue. So I like to pick this light blue for drums, and these are going to be on my percussion instruments. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I have another drum kit at the end. So I'm going to turn that blue, and I'm not going to move that because we're going to kind of treat the second half of the song like its own song because it's so different and dramatic that we're going to mix that kind of as its own section. We also want to make sure that since the first half of the song is so big with the bass and the kicks and stuff, that the end, the chorus has to be bigger. So we have to figure out how we're going to make that end section to be bigger than this big bass heavy, synth heavy thing in the beginning. So I went ahead and when I start a production, I always like to say what is somewhere in some track in the main melody what the key is, so that I have the key and the BPM. So let's listen to this one. This is the synth background. So we're going to make this its own color, and we are going to choose whatever color we want. So I'm just going to go in order. This lovely salmon, and I'm going to put these 2 melodies. And in Reaper, to choose 2 tracks, you just hit Control and click. And then to do the color, you right click, track color, set to custom color. And we're just going to go in order here. We'll make this one yellow. That's a little bright on my eyes, but that's okay. So then we have the sub bass stem. So we're going to change that color to this nice pink here. And then we have all of the end items here. So we have 2 end items. We have these 2 melodies. So I'm going to make these the same color. And we're going to make this lovely purple here. And then all the strings at the end, I'm going to make the same color. And we're going to go ahead and use this purple here. It's like a purple blue. All right, so now we have everything kind of color coded. So I have everything grouped together. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to mix these drums, just these here. And before I do that, what I want to do is I want to change my hi-hat sound so I can hear this thing blending properly. So we're going to go ahead and solo that, and I'll show you how to get it to stick out a little bit more in the mix. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate it. And then we're going to do a pan left and right. And I always keep my delays on the right side. It just keeping your delays on one side in instruments, not in vocals, helps with the balance of everything I've found. So that's what I'm going to do there. And I am going to go ahead and put some delay on this side. So I'm going to use H delay from Waves. I really like this plugin. And we're just going to put like the tiniest hair of delay on it. I'm going to do a little low pass and high pass just to kind of make it so that I'm not getting any frequencies delayed that I don't want. And then we're going to go ahead and play that together and do the panning until it works out for us. Let's try hard pan first. And I'm actually going to put some reverb on this side. Let's just do drum room. We'll cut out the pre-delay. See how this sounds here. So now it's just kind of dancing around your ears. So let's listen to all our drums together with that. And then I'm going to do a similar thing with this swish, because I also want this to kind of be out of the way. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate this track here. And on the swish, I'm going to pan it away and keeping my delay on the same side. This is just something that I do to kind of make it so that it doesn't sound uneven. You're not getting like swishing around. It's all coming from the same area. So we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to put like a touch, do a little low pass, a little high pass. And let's go ahead and listen to just our swish. So you're just getting a little bit of ear candy in the hi-hats. I like to keep hi-hats interesting. I don't really like to use things that are straight up really high tenny frequencies. My ears are personally sensitive to those really high frequencies, so it's just a preference thing. I don't want anyone to listen to my music really loud and turn it off, because there is a sound in there that is drilling into the side of their brain. If you do use high frequencies for your hi-hats, just do some specific EQing to try to make those less pingy and a little bit more warm. You can also blend them. So if you use a high frequency, use another lower frequency that's hitting at the same time and kind of blend those two together. And that will help you not have those really ping or really high things coming right at you. So the next thing that we're going to take a look at is we're going to take a look at our kick. It is needing EQ badly. So let's just go ahead and listen to it, and we're going to turn it down a hair too, and then we'll bring up EQ. I'm definitely going to see. Let's see if we have a kick preset that works. That's not going to work. So sometimes I check presets to see if they're going to work. What we're going to do is a little high pass here. We're going to boost like this. And that kind of gives it like a cool thump, but it kind of takes out some of those frequencies over here that kind of muddy up our mix. And I also boosted or took down some of the highs, which not a lot of people do in a kick drum, but this particular one has a lot of distortion. So I'm trying to get rid of some of that graininess, but also leave the character there. So that's where I boosted and cut right there that you can see. And I'm not going to add anything to it, and no reverb delay or anything like that, because it kind of already comes with a little bit of reverb. So I don't want to add anything else to it. The snare we might add some reverb to, but let's listen to it together and see what we like and dislike about this snare sound here. Let's listen down here. I like it. I think it just needs to be turned down a hair in the mix. Okay, so let's listen with all of our drums together. I just love like how it's dancing in your ears. Like it feels like something's going on, and it's more of like a like an ear candy pleasant sound than just straight up pound right, pound left. It's kind of doing a little dance, and that's what you want for this style of music. If you're doing rock music or something like that, of course you want your hi-hat, over to the right, and your right over to the left, and your toms pan and everything. But when you're doing like electronic music or hip hop or something like that, you want everything to kind of just be really balanced and dance around a little bit in your ears. It's one of those things that people like in music that they don't know why they like a song. There's a lot of interesting things going on. A lot of times with drums, people will keep it really simple. They'll like boom, clack, boom, clack, or boom, pop, boom, pop with that. Mix that shit up. Do something fun. Make different sounds. Play with those hi-hat sounds. I've been a drummer for 27 years. And drums make you dance, and drums are what drive the song. So feel free to play around with it and make interesting sounds and have things dance around in your ears. So then we're going to go down here and see what else is in this section of the song. So we have a few things. We have our melodies and our synth background. So let's just listen with this synth because it's a lower frequency synth here. And you want to do is drums, bass, mids, highs, vocals. It's kind of how you want to do it. So make sure that you are playing things together when you mix. So it might be, I did the drums, so I'm going to mute them all, and then I'm going to go fix the bass. And then you fix the bass, and then you mute the bass, and then you go do something else. Make sure that you're listening to things together, because that's how a song is. It's together. So let's go ahead and listen to it with this synth here. Cool. So there's kind of some different sounds here. You have like this heavy, thick one, and then the heavy, thick one at the end there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this here. Hit S and Reaper to split. And we'll go down to here where it gets thick again. Split. You can see it. And then it does something different here. Let's check it out. Cool. So it's not as deep and boomy as this. So what we want to do is separate those out. So I'm gonna, you guessed it, duplicate my track and go in and take this sub heavy part out here, and this heavy. You just click it and hit delete, and then take this out. So now we have two different things. So I'm gonna call this synth low background, and I'm going to call this one synth high. And the reason we're going to do this is because we want them in a different area. So this one I would want straight up the middle because it's very subby. Okay, and this one's higher. Okay, so this one I'm going to leave right where it is, right up the middle. I might turn this up a hair so it matches the drums. And I've kind of picked a sub synth that disappears a little bit when that kick drum comes in. You can use side chain compression to make that happen. But usually when I'm producing, I try to keep those things in mind. But that's not always possible. You always sometimes have like a really bass heavy song. So I'm going to leave that one just straight up the middle like that. Then for this high one, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate my track here. And I'm going to add some effects to one side. And I'm going to do a little bit of I think I'm going to leave it alone. I like the frequencies. I don't think there's any problems with them. So we're going to go ahead and do this one right up the middle. See, I'm already getting lost. I should change this color. So we're going to do this here, and then we're going to pan this one over. And you guessed it. We're going to hit one side with delay. Just a little bit. I might do a little, yeah, let's look a little bit. And I like those high frequencies, but we don't want them taken over. So I'm just doing a little bit of low pass, more high pass, because the bass, we want that bass to live there. So we're just going to do a little bit, and this just widens it. I love the dynamic. So this is when it changes back into the chorus, but I chose a different sub, or back into the verse, but I chose a different sub for the beginning because I wanted it to sound a little bit different. I try to make it so that every 30 seconds or so, you're getting something a little bit different. That's just my music production style. And it has to do with skip rates. So the more the song goes on, if it doesn't do a little bit of changing to catch your attention, more people are going to slam that skip. So that's kind of one of the things that I keep in mind. So I might do a little bit of variance in the drums or something to make it a little bit different from in each verse. The chorus I like to keep the same, but verses are where people kind of get bored. And they don't bore us, get to the chorus. So it has this big dynamic swell here, and that sounds really cool with a pan delay. Cool. So I made that big. Let's go see what else we got going on here. So we're going to go ahead and listen to that. We listened to it with the drums. So let's turn that off and let's take a listen to this. These are our two melodies. So I'll play each one for you. We have this one. And then we have this one. So what I'm going to do now is, because I know there's going to be vocals in the song, is I'm going to pan one away and pan the other one away, and I'm actually going to listen to this one here really quick. So this one has a little bit of low frequency that I don't like. We're going to just do a little high pass and look at it. Synths are cool to watch in EQ. I really love the way that they function, like the way that the frequencies are always kind of dancing around, and I think it's one of my favorite things about synths. So you don't want to completely EQ that stuff out, but to keep it from getting just a little bit muddy, I am doing a high pass to about 75 to 100 here, and I'm doing a bell curve pass so that I'm just getting rid of any transient sounds that are going to cause me to have problems in my mix. And then just out of curiosity, because I'm very curious, I am going to put on this particular one, I am going to put some true verb on it, because I just really want to hear what it sounds like. I do this a lot. Sometimes I just see what something sounds like. I'll do a before and after and say, did I make a positive change? So let's go ahead and try this out here. I want it to start right here. Okay. It's picking up some of those high frequencies in the reverb. So what I'm going to do is, before I put the reverb on, and TrueVerb usually doesn't pick those up, but before I put the TrueVerb on, I'm just going to do a cut in this area here. And you want to make sure that your EQ is before your reverb, or it won't affect it at all. That sounds really cool. So let's listen to this whole section together here. So now we have our bridge and we have this sub bass element. This thing needs high pass filter bad. It also kind of slams in. Let's listen to it. So we're going to fade it. It's better. See that? It's like all up there. So we're just going to bring it down just like a little tiny itty bitty bit. Interestingly, this changes completely. Let's solo 7. Oh, something else is changing. Oh, it's down here and I didn't have it muted. Okay, cool. So it's not changing. I'm very happy about that. All right, so let's listen to this bridge real quick. Actually, we can go ahead and take all these off because we're going to find out. Okay, so there's nothing else going on the bridge. So let's listen from there. Cool. So now we're going to work on our in part here. And what I want to do is get anything that I think is like a completely different sound and I might want to be panned differently, which the first one I found is this one. So we might want that one to be in a different area. So what I'm going to do is actually create a track. We're going to create a track and we're going to go up here. We're going to go up here. We're going to drag it. No. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and take it down to its own track here. And we'll go ahead and make that one yellow. So we can see what's going on. And I'm going to call this one string ping because that's what it sounds like to me. And we might actually do something cool like a ping pong delay or something with this just to see how it sounds. Why not? But this way I have control of the volume in the chorus. So the first thing that we're going to start with is we are using for this section, we are using a drum kit. And we are using for our bass strings. So that's what we want to listen to. We also have this. Which is a little bassy, but for here we're using drum sets and bass. So we're using a string bass. So I want this string bass to be like slamming in your face. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use a doubler on it. We're going to use a W2 stereo. And we're going to detune it and see what that sounds like. Sounds kind of bad. Let's try this. That sounds cool, just doubling it and having it like be on the stereo. So let's bring in our drums. All right, so we want our drums to be a little bit more slamming. So there's a few things we are going to do. We are going to hit it with the Abbey Road Staturator Stereo. And I like this plugin because it makes things sound, it makes MIDI drums sound real. I don't know how to put it any other way, but when I put this on there, I automatically feel like, oh man, I just threw on a real drum set. So there's a few different things you can play with: highs, lows, post EQ, pre EQ, things like that. I don't want those really high highs coming through, so I'll usually turn down the post EQ, and then I'll just get those slamming basses here. So let's check this out. So as you can tell, I'll do a little before and after for you. So here's the drums off. Here's it on. So it's like sounds freaking incredible. So next I'm just going to throw on a little bit of reverb. And I like this plugin. This is the old school Verb. It's completely free. I use it all the time. So we're going to use the drummer and preset, which I'm going to turn off the pre-delay. Because we don't want things coming before they're supposed to. I start with this preset and then I manipulate what I want. Before. It's after. I'll solo it just for you. No reverb. Reverb. And the reason that I want it to be a little bit more bass drum punch is because we're using a synth bass drum, a mini bass drum in the beginning. So we don't want our bass drum from the beginning to sound more powerful than our bass drum in our crescendo ending. We don't want that to happen. So that's why I did it that way. So let's go ahead and introduce the second set of strings now, because this is going to be like our big, loud, in-your-face thing. So let's listen to it with this viola. So what I did with that is all I did is turn it up and I pan it to the left. I might turn it up with a little bit of compression actually, because I'm really cranking it. And I think that we could do it this way a little bit easier. Actually, let's not use this one. So let's throw the axe on it, and that way we can get it more present without like turning the fader way up. And it'll help control some of that crescendoing without making it sound weird. That sounds huge. Okay. All right. So, and then we have our violin. So we can check to see how this sounds in the mix. Sounds really dry. Let's try hitting it with some true verb, just to make it pretty. That sounds so much better. So just those 4 instruments together sound awesome. So now let's go up and check out our sub melodies here. So let's play this one. And first I'm going to unsolo it, all these, just so I can hear what it sounds like on its own. It kind of has like a plane landing sound. I think I want to hear how this sounds with the strings and the drum kit, and then I might make this bigger as well with some delay and duplication. Yeah, it's lost. It's lost. So let's do some panning, and let's throw a little bit of delay on there. Let's listen to it by itself, and I'm going to cut this delay big on the high bass because it's doing this plane sound, and I don't want that to be elevated. I just want the main part of it to be elevated. So let's listen to it on its own. Kind of like the hard pan. I kind of dig the hard pan. Let's see how it sounds with everything. I always make changes after I hear what it sounds like with everything. Yeah, it's acting just as like a really nice filler. So I really like that. So let's see what this guy is. Okay, my idea for this one is we're going to get some EQ on here. And I'm just going to have that, I'm going to high pass it. I'm going to take a listen to it. Get the highs up. Before. Because we already have so much bass, and I just want this to be a dramatic standout. And then I want to make sure that I'm panning it separate from this violin that's also in the high register. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this here and then see how this sounds all together. Cool. All right, cool. So next we have to do this string ping that I totally left up here, unattended to. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to turn it down and use it kind of as like a flare. See how it sounds to the right. I think we're going to do our little delay trick and then pan it hard up and right. So it's kind of, I want it to sound like it's kind of coming from behind you. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to one string ping going this way, one this way. And then we're going to do a little delay. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And see how this sounds together. So there's some really high tinny ringing. So let's see. For the delayed one, let's see if we can just cut that really high. Kind of just bring up the mid here. And we're going to cut some lows here as well. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and solo just this one here. That did it. All right, let's play together. Okay, and then we're going to see if we can get a little bit of that 1K out. I think it might be in the high area here. Sometimes things is just chasing frequencies. It's like right in here. So we're going to take that frequency out. All right, let's listen to this whole thing together. All right. So let's compare this bigness. This is where you have to do some critical listening. We're going to compare this bigness to this bigness. So it is more dramatic. I think that the kick drum might just be a little bit loud here. That's sub bass. Let's turn that down a hair. Snare's a little loud. Sounds pretty great. It's different. So when you're listening to it, you know, it's like you're like, whoa, I didn't expect that to come out of there. You just have to make sure that it has the same impact as the beginning parts that are much cleaner and more pop-like. But I think it does a pretty good job. One last thing that we're going to do is those transitions I was telling you about that like slams you. So the first one was really bad. Excuse me, I had a little hiccup there. So I faded it in. So let's try doing that with those other ones. So let's listen to this. So let's listen to this one. It's not so bad. Let's listen to this. It's actually not so bad. All right, cool. So I think that sums up the mix. One thing I like to do on my mixes that is controversial, and I'll hear professionals yelling at me right now, don't touch your master bus. But once I get everything done, I like to go to my master bus here and add some a multi-band compressor. And there's some really cool presets on Reaper. So this is my multi-band compressor, and I just set it to something like super solid, and then I mess around with it a little bit. But this just kind of gives a little bit more life to my song before I enter into it lets me know kind of what it's going to sound like mastered. So I usually throw this and a limiter just to see what it might sound like mastered so that I can make adjustments to it. It's not something that I keep on there. It's just something that I use for a reference, because when I want to get an idea of what frequencies are going to come up. So let's take a listen to it with the Super Solid 2 on. We're going to skip over to the bridge. God, that sub bass. I might turn it down even some more. Oh, yeah. Sounds really nice. So I am mixing with headphones, so probably what I'll do at this point is take out my headphones, listen to the monitors. First of all, when I switch from headphones to monitors, I give myself a little break. I take like 20 minutes to let my ears kind of reset, especially since these headphones are kind of bass heavy compared to my monitors that allow me to hear everything perfectly. So if it doesn't sound super great to you right now, that's probably because headphones to monitors, I have to do a reference on it. So I'll go in and take my headphones off, go outside, have some coffee, maybe take a lunch, and then come back in and listen to my monitors to make sure that I really like it. But I hope that you enjoyed this production with me. I'm doing a little mix on it. If you are interested in production videos, like how I make my songs, I'd be happy to do that. Just leave that in the comments and I can walk you through my production and the things that I do to make interesting sounds. And my biggest focus is just try not to make the drums boring. So that is my biggest thing. And I know a lot of people struggle with drums, but I definitely think that I struggle with putting too many melodies into a song before I struggle with too many bass and beats. So we each have our own set of challenges, but I hope that you enjoyed this mix, and I will see y'all later.